Hello and welcome to the Mystical Arts Academy Business Spotlight, where we shine a light on you, your services, and your business. On our Mystical Arts Facebook page and website, we're creating a space where you'll find resources for anything and everything spiritual, metaphysical, paranormal, mystical, and supernatural. We've guided meditations, one-to-one tarot and mediumship readings, courses, lectures, and coming in 2025, some retreats as well. We hold regular Zoom meetings where you can come and ask questions, improve your knowledge and skills, and even make new friends. So, let's get started. Our guest today is Tamara from Angelic Connections 3. Tamara has been on her spiritual path for 20 years, and the last 3 years she's spent activating and raising her vibration. She's a spiritual guidance counsellor, Reiki master, and Seraphim blueprint healer. So let's give a big warm welcome to our special guest today, Tamara. Hi Tamara, how are you?
Hi, Stephen. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm pretty good for whatever date it is. What is it? Wednesday today, isn't it? Yeah, I'm pretty good for Wednesday. It's been a long week. What can I say?
It has.
And I've still got lots of busy days ahead as well. So yeah, welcome to the Mystical Arts Business Spotlight. So it's really good to have you here. So
Thank you so much for having me here.
yeah, no problem. So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started. Again, your path to where we are today, and some of the things that you're doing for your customers.
Okay, well, so I sort of I've always been awake really to something different. I always knew there was more to what we were being told growing up. I always sort of was very interested in the spiritual world. I always looked up into the stars. I just felt like I never belonged here. And then I've had quite a traumatic life. I've gone through quite a lot of trauma. But that seems to be something that's record, like a lot of us light workers have gone through as we go through a lot of trauma as we go through our life. And then I sort of played about with tarot, played about with cards, and I was always into the spiritual, like ghosts and spirits and stuff like that. And then I was in a very extremely violent relationship, and I noticed a lot of demonic activity and stuff, very dark activity that really sort of opened me up and made me realise there was a lot more to what we were actually being told and being taught in school and just in life in general. So that sort of took me down a road of investigating different paths of how demonic attachments and dark entities and stuff like that. And then I sort of started to realise that, I had certain abilities. I was able to guess when the phone was going to ring, or if somebody was going to turn up at the door, or was able to give somebody. I was hearing, I wouldn't say voices, but I was able to get messages, and it's very confusing for quite some time. I actually thought sometimes I might have been losing my mind, but then it turns out that I've actually got the gift of clairvoyance and clairaudience. So I sort of dived into that, done some soul work, worked on done the soul realignment and stuff like that, found out stuff about my past lives, past incarnations and stuff like that. And then just really sort of threw myself into it, because the more I started to get into it, the more I started to feel myself open up, and the more of my vibration changed, the better my life started to take, more positive things started to happen. And it's just, so now, I've got to the stage now. I love doing what I do, and I love being able to help people and give them guidance and, help them put them on their spiritual path. I also love healing. I've got multiple healing techniques. Some of that are just gifts that I've been given by divine, but others are techniques that I've learned and done courses on. So yeah, it's been quite an eventful period, really. So I'm able to offer multiple services in all things. I could do tarot, spirit readings, multiple different healing techniques. I'm able to give people different perspectives on their life path and stuff like that, and open them up to their spiritual awakening as well. So the services I offer just range from everything, really. I'm able to do pretty much all types of spiritual work that's needed as and when required, depending on the person that comes. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm very
sounds good.
passionate and I love my job. I
Yeah,
absolutely love it.
that sounds fantastic. Now, a lot of mediums won't talk about the darker side of our experiences, the demonic possessions and things like that. And there are some sort of big mediums out there that says everything in the spirit world is love and light, and of course everything in the spirit world is love and light, but we're not in the spirit world. We're on the earth plane,
Yeah,
and we are connected to the astral plane, and then the spirit plane is above that, and
yeah,
above that is all love and light, of course. Now, I remember when I first started at going to spiritualist churches back in, I was 18, so when was that? That would be 20, yeah, 20, 1986-ish. I'm thinking, yeah. So that's when I first started, and one of our friends of the family, he's a medium. So within a sort of a 6 months, 8 months, 12 months of developing, going to development class, a friend of ours, their neighbour had problems with possession, they didn't know it was possession at the time. But we ended up going there and doing a an exorcism, and that
mhm.
worked. And a lot of people won't talk about it, but there is a lot of darkness there, a lot of attachments, isn't there?
Yeah, oh, yeah, I mean, you'll be very surprised at how many people have actually got dark entity attachments. I mean, through my line of work, I would say there's a good, unless you've had an entity removal, I'm going to say a good 90% of the population has dark entities, whether they realise it or not. And I will also say that anyone suffering with bad mental health, it's 100% because you've got dark attachments and you've got dark energies that are causing suicide. I know is dark because, I mean, we are love and light. So everything, so like, you know, if you're connected to your true spirit guides, you will see love and light. So when you've got that negative voice in your head telling you to do these awful things to yourself, that is a demonic possession or a dark entity attachment that's causing those voices to appear and make you, because especially with light workers, because the darkness want to hold us back, because they don't want us to achieve our full potential and become the light and love that we're all destined to be, and we came here to be. So there are multiple ways. I mean, when I had a soul realignment, I found that I had actually 9 other souls that were also using myself as a vessel, and then those 9 other souls had attachments on those souls. So it was just like I was walking around with basically a full community, and like, you know, having all these voices and stuff like that. And I recognized that these were dark attachments just because they're pure negative. So if anyone's got negative thoughts in that, then you need to have an entity removal, because this is 100% what these are. Bad mental health is to do with dark attachments. And again, like schizophrenia, multiple personality disorder. I mean, there you go, straight away, multiple personalities. That tells you you've got multiple souls that are within your vessel that are actually trying to come through as a singular. So everybody needs to get an entity removal, especially if you've had trauma, especially because with trauma, that keeps your vibrate. That is it, like, especially like lower back. If you've got lower back issues, there's where you store your childhood trauma in your lower back. Yeah, in your shoulders as well. You'll get, basically, if you've had trauma, recent trauma, that's where the recent trauma gets stored. And the thing is, when you've got trauma stored, that's a low vibration. Yeah, so these entities come in and they're able to attach to these low vibrational areas in your body, and you wouldn't even realize that you've got them. You just, all of a sudden, you'll start feeling tired, lethargic, irritable. You're acting out, like behaving in ways that you wouldn't. You're just sitting there going, oh, why did I just react like that? Well, it wasn't actually you. It was actually your entity that's caused you to manifest that aggression, that anger, that rage, the sadness. So I would implore everybody, if you can, get an entity check and an entity removal, because 100% everybody's got some form of entity attachment, whether they realise it or not.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
the problem is, you're right, a lot of people don't want to discuss it. A lot of people do want to try and hide from that. But you can't hide from it, because if we keep hiding from it, we're never going to be able to solve this issue. And the whole point we're having here, when we're trying to move from the 3D to the 5D Earth, the new Earth, we need to raise the vibration. And ways of doing that is removing and I actually transmute demons. That's what I do. When I remove them, and I'm able to transmute them back from dark to light and send them back to the angelic realm, to where they get healing and whatever it is they need to get done for them to go back to being a being of light. So to ignore that situation is actually holding our vibration down on a global scale, because if you're not changing the vibrations of your entity and of your physical self, it's a lot harder to change the vibration of the planet. And I feel like this is why we're stuck a little bit at the moment, why the Great Awakening's taken a slow, because we went through a mass awakening now, and now it seems to have taken a sort of like a slow, gradual effect now, because people are still not removing these demons. They're not removing these dark attachments. They're not dealing with their trauma and raising that and removing that stuff. So it's harder to raise your vibration when you've still got these things attached.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, I've mentioned a couple of times on the podcast, there's something called sympathetic resonance, whereas like attracts like. So if we're vibrating at a lower frequency, a lower vibration, we will attract similar vibrations as well. And that includes entities within the astral plane, and will attach themselves to our energetic bodies, definitely, without a doubt. So that's when you're doing the clearings and things, because
Yeah.
So that's when you do the clearings.
Yeah, well, what I do when somebody comes to me for higher help, that's the first thing I do actually check, is I'll do a full body, check their body over, give them a scan, see if there's any dark areas. And then I'll do my prayers. I've got my own prayers that I've wrote out, and they're pretty simple. It takes about 40 minutes to do a full clearing on somebody. But then once I'm able to remove them, you can actually get a better reading on people, because sometimes when you're reading people, these entities can actually come through and interfere with that. So you're not necessarily going to get a proper reading on someone. You're not necessarily going to give them the information they truly need, because these things can interfere with that. So I always do an energy clearing first before I do any of my work, just to make sure that they're reset back to balance, back to zero, and then we can go forward from there. And I'm going to say I'm 100% successful. This isn't just, if you go to my Trustpilot, you'll see that everybody I've worked with is, I've always said, like, my work's spot on, and I can see dark within the dark. So it doesn't even matter how well these things think they can hide. I literally, that's one of my gifts, being able to see these dark entities and being able to transmute them. So yeah, so then there's a lot of people that have got these things attached, and it's really sad, because we've been robbed of our spiritual birthright from birth. And if we'd known this, the information that we now know back when we were growing up, these things, our lives wouldn't have gone the way they have. This is why a lot of people's got chaos in their life. It's because of these things that are affecting us. And they can affect your children. It's really quite complex. But it's complex but simple. Once you break it down and look into it, it becomes very simple. But sometimes getting past people's mentality, because a lot of people are very close-minded, and the problem we have we've just say for Hollywood, they've glamorized all this, and they've like desensitized everybody to these things, and they've like, everybody thinks, oh well, it's just in the movie. No, it's not. This is real life. They've just made it look like it's a movie. They've made it look fictional. So people like me and you don't understand or don't realize that we're walking around with a whole community of entities just feeding off our energy. And they love it. They love when there's chaos. They love it when there's drama and stuff, because the more drama and the more chaos we have, the more they feed. They love it. It's like loose negative energy. They just latch onto that, and it's just like you become a buffet. You become a massive buffet for God knows what. And when I say the different entity, it isn't just demons. There's other dark entities that attach as well. And there's a lot of stuff that people are not aware of. I mean, there's a lot of things people don't realise. There's a lot of spiritual workers that are attached to false guides. There are false guides out there that can mimic your real guides. And it's all about knowing and wording when you connect. So you really need to know what you're saying, because sometimes you could just call in something and it's just posing as who you want. So when I say my rituals, or when I call in my spirit team, I'm very specific, just so like that nothing else can come through whatsoever. So like, just say for instance, I'll call in Archangel Michael. So if I was to just go, I'll call forward Archangel Michael, please be with me now, the chances of you actually getting the real Michael are pretty slim. You'll probably get an entity that will pose as an imposter and pretend to be him. But what I'll do is I'll call forward the one and only, the real and true Archangel Michael of 100% unconditional divine love and light, who comes in divine peace, divine compassion, divine love, divine forgiveness, and complete totality, to please be with me now. So that leaves no room for any imposter. The person that the Archangel turns is going to be the real Archangel Michael. And it's the same when you want to connect with divine source. It's the same thing. Make sure you always specify of 100% unconditional divine love and light, because that is who you're going to get.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
There's a lot of people not realizing this, and there's a lot of staff, there's a lot of spiritual workers just good at what they do, but they don't train enough. I feel there's a lot of people out there not training themselves enough on the information and not learning properly. They're just thinking they can just, oh well, I've seen other people do it, so I'm just going to throw my hand at it. And it can be very dangerous. Being in the spiritual life and doing spiritual is very dangerous.
Yeah, it's like when people play with the Ouija board, isn't it? The Ouija board as a tool is fantastic if you know what you're doing. And you protect yourselves, you put a circle of light around you, you call in the highest light beings that you can, rather than just saying, is there anybody there? Because you don't know who you're going to get.
Well, you literally just opened the door for anything. Right. Is there anybody there? Well, hang on, there's like 5 demons all sitting there waiting around going, I'm here. Yeah. Hello.
And of course they do lie as well, don't they? They do lie. They do pretend to be other things, as you've just mentioned. So they will coax you into a false sense of security by giving you proper information and then taking you down a sideward road. And I think that's one of the problems with some of the big mediums out there that are not addressing this type of thing, that are not sort of telling people, up and coming mediums, about the darker side of life as well, because we are energy beings, and there are higher energy beings and lower energy beings. Of course, that there are people that's had near-death experiences, that's gone what they class as hell, and they've broken out of it. And of course, you get what you think about, whether you want it or not. Likewise, the energies that we're putting out, the vibrations we're putting out, we're attracting those same like vibrations. So So tell us a little about the healing as well. Now, what about the? I mean, I was trained in Usui Reiki as well. This is going back in 2002, 2003, when I did my 1 and 2, and I did my Reiki Masters beginning of this year. So tell us a little bit about the Usui Holy Fire Reiki, because I've not heard of that one before.
Well, the Holy Fire Reiki, there's actually 2 types of Holy Fire Reiki. So you have the Usui Holy Fire Reiki, and this is the Reiki that's been brought in by the Holy Spirit. It was created by William Lee Rand with the International Reiki Center. So this is all about pulling in the energy from divine Holy Spirit. So you use the energy for the Holy Spirit. You can use different multiple symbols that you get. You know yourself, you get different symbols and stuff like that.
Yep.
So I'm a Reiki master in that. But then I went on to do the Karuna Reiki, Holy Fire Reiki, which is an adapted version of the Holy Fire. It's actually the most powerful Reiki on the planet as it stands at this very moment. I know there are other people that are creating other different energy forms of Reiki right now, but as it stands at the minute, the Karuna is the most powerful. And again, that comes from the Holy Spirit, and it comes from not just the Holy Spirit, but also divine source. So it's about pulling the energy in from both of those sources, and being able to use it in such a way that it's new symbols. But to be honest, I mean, I was blessed, and I know this is going to sound really crazy, but one of my gifts is actually, have you ever watched Green Mile?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, John Coffey, I actually have a gift like John Coffey where I'm able to transfer. So it's like transference. I can basically transfer somebody's, and it just comes onto me, and I'll suffer it for about 10 minutes. But it will dissipate. And again, it's done similar. So when John Coffey breathes out, he breathes out bugs. I don't breathe out bugs, obviously. I don't expel anything like that. But it is all about breath. So as I'm healing, or if maybe it's physical, if I'm touching you where your physical pain is, I'm able to absorb that energy in, and then I'll breathe it out. But it doesn't, like I say, it's no physical. You can't physically see anything. But so I have that gift of transference. And that's probably one of my most powerful gifts I have, the transference one. I'm able to give people instant pain relief which has become like, yeah, a lot of people do, like, it's because they know I can do this. It's like, oh, I've got a headache, I've got toothache.
Yep.
And it literally does take a few minutes to do this. And majority of the pain relief lasts for about 24 hours. And obviously, then we have to look at the root cause of what's causing the pain, and then we'll do like find out. I'll assess what energy is needed and what's the best path for their healing progress. Sometimes it could be like we do a cellular healing. And sometimes a lot of the people's illnesses is trauma based. So sometimes we'll need to go in and remove the trauma, as in like, so it could be childhood trauma. So everything, I incorporate everything. So I'm able to do Akashic Records work, so I can clear things of Akashic Records, and it's just crazy. There's just so many different aspects to what I do, and I do really sort of try and incorporate everything so it becomes very powerful. Rather than just using one, I'll incorporate all my healing modalities as a group, and do it that way. So yeah, I've been quite successful with it so far.
That's it, isn't it? I mean, when we first start learning a particular modality of healing, for example, Reiki and things, you do use the symbols, and it's the intention that we're setting. We're setting the intention, we're drawing the symbols to bring in that energy, to bring forward that healing vibration. But after a while, you can do it without drawing the symbols and things, because you're so used to the intention is literally the word, isn't it? So it's all about the intention. So you can then bring in other modalities and other systems of healing and integrate them all into one. So that's brilliant. So what about this Seraphim blueprint healing? What's all this about?
So this was done by Rue Friendly. She created this with the Seraph. Is the highest of them. Is the last of the original 13 Seraphim that was created back when life was created. He's lovely. He's obviously one of the most powerful. He's very, very powerful. As I say, he's up there with Source. So they've created this healing modality called Seraphim Blueprint Healing. There's 6 levels to that. Plus there's other extended parts of that I've done. And it creates different certain channels. So I've got multiple different secure channels, because again, when you're doing this work, sometimes we could get interference, especially if I'm working with someone maybe that, but then like I say, I always check to make sure their entities are off. But sometimes you might get someone that maybe if I'm connected to, that maybe somebody else is in the room that's got entities, they could manipulate the energy work that I'm doing. So the Seraphim Blueprint is created channels so it's secure. So even if I'm doing energy work on someone, nothing or no one can come in and interfere with my energy work and cause any disruptions. So there's multiple techniques. I can't actually really sort of, because it's sacred. Because the Seraphim Blueprint is actually sacred healing modality, there's not really much I can say without actually saying things that I shouldn't actually be speaking about publicly, because this is it's protected. Because the more protected we keep this, the more safer it's going to be for people when they use it.
It's like the Reiki symbols, isn't it? We should keep the Reiki symbols to the Reiki practitioners. You shouldn't really give them out. It shouldn't really be in books and things. They should only be, I know they are in books, but they should only be...
Unfortunately, people have actually corrupted that, but...
They should only be passed on when you're doing the training, which is what we're going to be doing as well.
Yes.
So we haven't talked about where you are. You're based in Scotland.
I am, yes.
Yeah, whereabouts in Scotland? That's in the UK.
Just outside Glasgow. Just outside Glasgow, Western Berkshire.
And you do, obviously, you've said that you people in person, so people come to you on a one-to-one basis.
Well, it's normally my friends that come to me, because I've only just really sort of started going public with my business for the last couple of months. So a lot of the physical contact healings are friends, but I've got a massive following online that I do a lot of remote work globally. So I've got clients in America, Malaysia, Australia, South Africa. I've got them in UK, in England, Scotland. So I have got clients from multiple places, but I just want to be able to try and get out there a little bit more, because I really feel that, you know, I'm able to help a lot of people. I mean, everybody that's come back, and I'm very thorough. If I can't fix something straight away, I'll find something. I'll find a solution regardless to whatever somebody's going through. And I do a lot of therapy work. I've also trained as a counsellor. So I'm able to do a lot of therapy work for people, especially to deal with their trauma. So a lot of childhood trauma is coming through right now. I do a lot of work with people with the childhood trauma and domestic violence.
Yeah.
I do a lot with people that's gone through domestic violence. So yeah, it's a hard job when you, because obviously, you know, going through people's trauma with them can be very traumatizing. But I have my ways of dealing with that also, because, you know, we have to find our own outlets of being able to deal with this.
Yeah, cool.
But the positive thing for me, what gives me, even though sometimes it can be very difficult, such like, especially when certain information comes through for me that I've, you know, if I especially connect and it could come through really severe violence, it can be quite difficult because, you know, being for someone that's gone through similar situations, obviously it can be quite tricky for me, but it's finding, I enjoy it because I know that once we've done this work, this person is just going to have a whole new, and a whole new chance of rebuilding their life. So I just get a real buzz out of it, really helping people and seeing the positive impacts I have on their life.
I mean, it is transformational, isn't it? That's the thing, and it can transform people's lives. There are, as we mentioned earlier, there are a lot of people stuck in their ways, and they don't know to the full extent that that we are energy beings and things like that, and about the attachments, etc., etc. But it's been well known for centuries. The American Indians, they know about the attachments and all the negative side of things, and protecting ourselves as well. So yeah, that's brilliant. So what about, so that you mentioned in before we went live about working with some of the best spiritual mediums and teachers in the world. Do you want to give a couple of names, or do you want to keep them to yourself?
Well, I don't need. Well, Eugene now, he's one of my, whether he's well known or not, but I believe that I've worked with him for the last year and a half, and he's amazing. He's who I've done my Seraphim Blueprint healing programs with. I've done all the programs. I've literally just got one more. I'm just going to be running soon. I'm going to be doing that, which is called the Seraphic Light, which means I'll be able to use light work and actually manipulate light to be able to do deep cellular healing as well. I've done Seraphim Aqua, which is I'll maybe to manipulate water and use water as well, and use that as an energy base. So like, because we're all water, we're all made up of water, so it gives you the ability to be able to go in and restructure people's water, like the cells inside the body, a lot more easier. And there's also a couple of programs I also want to do that's coming up as well, which I'm going to be doing as well to upgrade, because I feel like, you know, the more you do, I feel the better you get, you know. I love learning, especially about this whole spiritual side of things. The more knowledge I have, the more it's like a thirst. Once you get onto this path, it's you can't go back.
One of my favourite sayings is ever forward. Onwards and upwards is another saying that people use as well. Definitely, we all need to keep expanding our energy field, our knowledge base, because knowledge is power, and a lack of knowledge is a lack of power, and that's where the powers that be, the major religions, the governments around the world, the news media, you know, they all want to suppress us. They all want to give us all this negative energy, so we're in stress all the time, instead of being sort of happy and in a state of regeneration and health. That's the thing. They want to keep us subdued.
The governments, I know this is a really difficult subject to get into, because we could open up a whole new can of worms here, but the governments are a Luciferian organisation. So they work. This is what their intention is, to keep us down in a low vibration, because when we're in low vibration, we're not accessing our gifts. We're not becoming the superhumans that we all actually are. People don't understand it. We are actually superhuman if we unlock ourselves and unlock our minds and unlock our consciousness. So there's that whole thing that's going on with, like, you know, I could say, I don't know whether I should say, because I don't want to, you know, open a whole can of worms, but you've got, like, just say for the Freemasons. They've got a very grasp on the global scale, and they're Satanists, they're satanic. These things, they actually conjure these things up. I mean, it's just, It's a whole new subject. I think that maybe we should do another podcast on that.
Definitely. we probably won't have time to go into all of that today, but yeah, I'd love to get into some of this. I mean, not everybody's Satanist, because in the Freemasons, of course.
But no, of course not.
There's a lot of there's a lot of
the ones that are in the power right now, controlling the media, controlling the food industry and everything. They are. And I know there's a light side, because there is a light and a dark to both sides. You know, you've got to have one without the other. But unfortunately, it seems like the on the global scale, the dark side seems to be they're the ones that have got the grip right now.
They've got the biggest shout.
Yes.
I was gonna go for. I'm from Yorkshire, so I was gonna give a Yorkshireism there. They've got the biggest gob.
Yes.
I had to sort of just change my my wording. They've got the biggest voice, haven't they? That's the problem, and that's the media, isn't it?
But yes.
Once we as light workers can get our knowledge out there, get our enthusiasm, get our uplifting spiritual growth out there, then they're not going to be able to stop us. You know, and that's where this shift is going.
That stage, we are getting, because the matrix is starting to break now. Everything's starting to. People are waking up, but again, we've still got a lot of light workers out there that are being manipulated by the dark forces, by the false light, because they're not using the right wording when they're communicating. There are people out there that openly admit that they work with demons when they do their readings, and just that's not okay. No. That's just not. They should not be doing that. If you've got a dark entity, you should either be transmuting that or asking the light to come to take them to be transmuted, or at least find somebody or that does this kind of work, transmutation, and get them to remove them and transmute them back to light, because only when we're back to light can we truly transform.
Yes.
Oh, did you see that flash there? I believe we just might have spiritual contact right now.
Well, they're always around us anyway, aren't they? All you have to do is ask. That's the thing.
Yes.
So we'll definitely love to have a chat on one of our other podcasts. This is, of course, the Business Spotlight, and it's shining the spotlight on you. But we do other podcasts as well.
I would love to come on and talk about
supernatural, paranormal, UFOs, and all sorts.
I would love to. Yeah,
definitely. We'll catch up on that one. So let's move things slightly to one side a bit, and sort of break the ice and bring a bit more fun back into this podcast. So, who is your spiritual guru that you follow the most?
Oh, that's a really difficult one, because I have a really great relationship with a lot of my spirit team. I've really bonded with quite a few of them. So Michael is he's with me 24. So he's always here. Divine Source is also. I meant
sort of in real life, not the guides and things. So who's your spiritual guru? Yeah.
My spiritual guru would have to be Eugene Now. He's actually my mentor. He's the one I've done a lot of my training with, a lot of my courses with. So, and he's amazing. He's really good at what he does.
He's not someone I've heard of, so you'll have to give me a link to his page later.
Absolutely.
And we'll add it into the comments and things as well.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
If you, apart from him, who, if you could have dinner with a spiritual teacher, whether dead or alive, who would it be?
Have to be. And this is because I've wrote this down right, and I've got three. I can't really pinpoint it. It would have to be Divine Source. If I could sit down and actually have a dinner, I'd love to sit down with Divine Source and have
do you think you'd be able to understand them, though? Do you think you'd be able to get a grip on it? Because from my understanding, they're so far, I'll say evolved, if that's probably the wrong word. They're so far enlightened that could we really understand and get benefit from them being in the earth plane that we're in? Because we are quite removed from source. You can see my microphone there. We are quite removed from source itself, although we are a part of source, if that makes sense.
Because I actually communicate with source. I actually do channel source quite often. I do have conversations with source quite a lot.
Right.
So it's all about connecting. When you've connected to source and you use it and you strengthen that connection every time.
Source energy, not source the indivisible source, but the source energy. Yeah.
So once you connect, because source is from my own investigation, from my own line of work, and from my own communication. Divine Source is So you've got divine source, and then you've got divine father, and you've got the divine mother. They are the one. So they're the Holy Trinity. So if you can, when you can create a connection with divine father, and then you create communication with divine mother, you're able to then bring them in and communicate with the one source. But if I was to be able to sit down and have dinner, it would be like with Jesus, Yeshua, and maybe the tree of life, because I think the tree of life will have lots to say, because I do a lot of work with the tree of life. So, and everybody's going like this, everything's got a consciousness.
Yes.
Everything, and it's all got consciousness. So you're able to like speak and have a conversation, and I've had some amazing experiences throughout my journey. I've spoken to entities and things you would be like, my God. And it's like, so I can, so it'd probably be them. I would like to, definitely.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So if you could give your younger self one piece of spiritual advice, what would it be?
Be open-minded. Everything, there's multiple possibilities. Don't be closed-minded, but believe everything's a possibility, and the possibilities are endless, and that the spiritual path, although it can be very difficult at times, it's the most rewarding, because I feel like I get the most out of it, even though like there's times and I'm sitting there just like but at the same time it just opens you up to a whole new perspective, and the love that you do feel for yourself and for life when you do it, it's just transformative. It is transformative. It gives you a whole life becomes a lot more beautiful. I think beauty returns a little bit more better than when you're closed off, because you appreciate things so much more, and you value things so much more. So if I could give myself a piece of it would be definitely to open my eyes and dive down that rabbit hole of spiritual self and just go with it, and don't allow people to say this isn't real or that's not real, you don't know what you're talking about. Just take people's comments and then just keep going with your heart and your soul.
Yeah, we are spiritual beings having an earthly experience. And of course, we are here for the experience, the good and the not so good.
Yeah.
But once people realise that we are a spiritual being, then the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
They really are. And you suddenly start, when you start looking into it and you start doing a bit of research or going to certain groups or certain teachings or being in front of a certain teacher, you then realise that, we are an unlimited being. We have an unlimited potential. And once we get out of the learnt behaviours of this earthly life, once you start realising that we live sort of 95% of our time on subconscious beliefs and behaviours, then you can start to become aware. You can become mindful of your surroundings as well. Yes. Again, our brain is designed to conserve energy, and it conserves energy by pattern recognition. So once it sees something that it's seen for several times, it then starts to ignore it. So when you walk out, I've mentioned this again plenty of times. So when you walk outside your house and there might be some trees and some flowers, even some weeds on the floor, they're beautiful things. They really are. And once you start to open your eyes to that, to the beauty of life, again, even the weeds growing through the cracks in the pavement. It's such a wonderful thing.
I think my neighbours think I'm crazy because they've seen me outside talking to insects, and I'm like talking to the trees, and I'm singing to the trees, and
it's a beautiful experience, isn't it?
I know a lot of people for a long time, because, as I say, I've been quite spiritually awake and very in touch with nature for a very long time. And a lot of people, they do think I'm a little bit mad.
It doesn't matter, does it? It brings you joy.
I love that. Do you know what? If you want to see me as crazy because I want to walk down the road and talk to this bee, then that's up to you.
Oh, I do that as well. I will rescue. I feel even going back 30 years, something like that. There were lots of flies in my mum's kitchen when I used to live at home, and I'd go around swatting them, and then I thought, I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
And then I felt really remorseful for squatting flies. And I wouldn't do it now. And again, you just shuffle them outside and all sorts.
I was terrified of spiders. And this is going to sound absolutely crazy, right? So, but I've had a few people, like multiple psychics come in and say, like, they've agreed and saying, well, yeah, we've just checked, you actually have. I've actually got contracts with the spiders that I created back in 2012. And because I was terrified, and it was my instant reaction whenever I see one, I would just, ooh. But then I would feel so bad, and I'd sit there and pray, and I'd be like, oh my God, please forgive me for doing that. I didn't mean to do that, blah, blah, blah. And then one day I moved into my new flat, and this great big spider come out from underneath my sofa. And I froze, but the spider froze as well. And we were both just sitting there looking at each other. And then I just started talking to it. I just had this 20-minute conversation, just saying to the spider, look, come on. If we're going to live side by side, there's got to be a few ground rules that we've got to have. Hide. Don't let me see ya, right? If I don't see ya, I won't have to feel the need to get you out. Yeah, I won't have to feel. So hide in the walls, hide with it. Just don't let me see ya. I won't disturb you in your house. Don't disturb me in my house, and we can live harmoniously, because I will automatically kill you by accident, because it's my first response as a defense to hit out before realizing what. And I've got better at it. I don't do that now because I've managed to train myself not to do it. And do you know something? To this very day, in every place that I've been, the spiders don't come out.
Nice.
I don't get spiders. They all hide. And they don't. I might get a teeny totsy one.
Yeah.
And I'll say to you, well, don't move from there. You have to stay there. Don't you leave from there. And you know, and I know it sounds really crazy. I know I sound crazy saying this, but it really works. And I have since that day, I've not had, touch wood, that's not an invitation, by the way. I've not had any problems with spiders. They've all stayed in there where they are. And like I say, I don't disturb them in their house, and they don't disturb me. And it's just, it's crazy. It's just
but it works, doesn't it? Intention works. That's the thing. Yeah. I mean, I very rarely hit a red light, because I'm always, driving and saying thank you, and, putting a circle of light around the car, and wanting to be around safe drivers and convenient drivers and drivers with good driving sense. And very, very rare, you do get the odd one now and again, but very rare do I hit a green light, and red light. And when I come up to junctions, I might be 3 or 4 cars behind other people, but when I get to the junction, I'm straight out.
Yeah.
And it's about telling the universe, every time I come to a junction, I want there to be a gap so I can get out easily and safely. And
spiders, regardless, I mean, even though they're an insect, they still have a consciousness.
Oh, yeah. So
if you're able to do spiritual work, you should be able to connect to their consciousness and actually speak with them. And you can they do actually respond.
Yeah.
And my best friend, Nicola, she will vouch for this. She's a bit scared of spiders. And she had a spider come in our living room one day, and I actually just connected and said, right, come on now. Can't come in here because you'll get yourself killed. Out you go. And her jaw was on the floor because the spider literally just turned around and walked back out the same way it came in. And she's like, what? How have you managed to do that? And I was like, well, you just connect with their consciousness. They've still got a consciousness. They're not stupid.
That's right.
They just can't. They just not like they can just wake up and go hello tomorrow. But if you connect with their consciousness, there's just a certain level of understanding. Again, the intention. When they feel your intention, you don't want to harm them.
Exactly.
But so you explain them like you need to leave, otherwise you're going to get hurt. And I don't want to do that. So off we go.
We've got rabbits. We've got 4 rabbits, and they go out on the garden. We had a trio and a pair. One of the pairs died, so she's on her own at the moment. But I can let them out, and I've got CCTV cameras here. I've got sort of 19 cameras on there, 1 camera there, so I'm watching them all the time when I'm working. And they'll come out at night, and they'll be on the garden. The garden's secure as well. And I'm thinking, right, she's been out for 2 hours, so we'll let the others out for 2 hours. So I'll just give a little thought. Come on, Daphne, it's time for bed. Get yourself in. Within a couple of minutes, she comes in. It's really, once you start to connect with animals like that, it's amazing. It really is.
It really is.
And again, people will think, oh God, they're stupid, or they're crazy, or what the hell are you talking about? But it works. And again,
it really does.
People talk about parking angels. That works. Getting to, every time you come to a traffic light, it's always on green or near enough. When you come to a junction, it's always clear so you can get out. Talk to animal. Intention is the thing, isn't it? You put out a positive intention into the universe, you'll get that back as a reflection, without a doubt. Well, on that note, one last question. What's one piece of spiritual wisdom you've learned along the way that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Just You know, I'm going to look at my notes because I wrote this down. So hang on. So, because I just had to refresh my memory there. So the spiritual wisdom would be, if you have bad health, bad mental health, and emotional health, my spiritual wisdom would be to realise that it's not actually you, and to seek spiritual guidance, because a lot of people's mental and emotional health can be solved in just one session. And I'll tell, and if you go on my chart, like there was a guy who came to me. He had issues with drinking, and he was really, really struggling to go into AA, and he was just really struggling. And he done one session with me, removed these entities, and I cleared all his energy off, and I reset. I went through the Akashic, cleared some stuff off, and he hasn't drunk since. He left me a review the other day saying, like, thank you so much for the clearing. I've been so clear-headed, and since we've done this session, I haven't felt the need to have any alcohol. So wisdom is just be aware that not everything is what it seems. Yeah. Just because you can't see it with the physical eye doesn't mean it's not real. And also be prepared.
Yeah.
Be prepared to be shocked, because I mean, when you do wake up, it is it can be very difficult for people when they go through the spiritual awakening, because we have been denied this access to this information for so long.
Yes.
And when you do wake up to this whole new side of things, demons, dark entities, it can be very scary. But just know that if you stand in your light, you're going to be okay.
Yeah,
you just
exactly.
need to remove that. You just need to find the right person to work with, to just help you remove those darkness attachments and to clear just some layers off, just to make that easier. And you'll be surprised just how much your life will actually change.
Yeah, transformative, isn't it?
Yeah,
it really is. That, and of course, going back to sort of the texts and things, even that there's proof that the Bible has been edited, and all the good bits have been taken out, and some of those bits would have helped mankind evolve so much faster than what it has done. You know, it's unbelievable.
With my communication with the spirit world, I've been told that the Bible is actually only 20% accurate. There's only actually 20% truth in the Bible now. It's been that rewritten so many times and so much. And then you just got to look at the Catholic Church. I mean, they're the only ones that are commissioned to do exorcisms, and that's just like, but they're not real. But yeah, you know, and I just find, and I from my research, I know there's going to be a lot of people out there, maybe religious, is not going to like what I say, but Satan is the head of the Catholic Church, whether people realise it or not. He is actually the head of, in fact, religion. All religion is subjected to keep us down from actually reaching our true potential.
Control, isn't it? That's it. Control.
Yeah, it is. It's basically a slave manual. I mean, do you really need to be told how to be a good person? I mean, because I think if you really do need that sort of guidance, then you really need to have a word with yourself. Like, do you really need to be told that you need to love your neighbour, or don't have an affair with somebody? It's just basic morals. Yeah. If you don't know this innately already, then there is something fundamentally wrong with your blueprint. That's what I'm going to say. Maybe you need to get blueprint done. Maybe, and that's another thing that I can do. I can do blueprint work. I can recode people's blueprints and take away the bad codes, because a lot of our blueprints have been corrupted.
And we'll not go into it now, but we're definitely going to it in a different session. But our DNA, I'm not a big fan of karma. Karma, for me, again, that's all down to control, and I don't think karma, as the religion would have us believe it, is what it is. Karma does exist, but not how the religion would have us believe that it exists. But there is same with ancestral karma as well. Again, you know, there's lots of debates. We could go into that, and we could spend another hour on that. But there is some scientific evidence that does prove that our behaviours, our learnt behaviours, do get passed on to our offspring. So again, very, very quickly, and I'm going to be really quick on this. Experiments have been done with mice that were subjected to something like a scent of roses or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was. And every time that scent was introduced, they would get an electric shock. So they would do that so many times that even when they didn't get the electric shock, but the scent was introduced, they would react as though they were having the electric shock. So that means that their learnt behaviour, their DNA had been altered. So when they had offspring, and the offspring were of a certain age that they could experiment with them, they brought this rose scent into them, and they reacted the same as though they were getting the electric shock. So there is sort of things that get carried in our DNA into our offspring.
Well, DNA can store memory.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, there's a guy called Greg Braden who I follow, and he has done a lot of work on DNA and decoding DNA, and he I can't remember the exact details, but it's something like if you were an artist and you're drawing a painting or painting a painting, you would sign it. So why wouldn't God sign us? And he has. The first part of our DNA translates into I am, in effect, God. Yeah. You know, so yeah, anyway, on that note, let's call it a day. This is the longest podcast we've done so far. But
this has been lovely. Thank you so much for having me here.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. I would definitely need to do some of the paranormal, supernatural.
Oh, I would love that because I really am into that. So you'll be surprised. I'll get right into that.
Oh yes, yes. My knowledge is quite broad, so we'll have some really good conversations. Well, on that note, thank you, Tamara.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
And you. And so we'll put some links in on the video and in the text when we start posting the videos out on social media as well. So thank you yet again, and have a fantastic.
It's been awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I've really, really enjoyed it. And we'll see you soon.
You too.
Bye for now.
Bye bye.